How do I start these things? Hi! 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 How are you? I'm sweating. Long time no vlog, right? Well, that's what happens when you get yourself a summer job. I had an hour-long lunch break, and I always brought a book to read during lunch. So I read a lot of books this summer, and I'm extremely proud of that because during the first 4 months of the year, I read one book. So I decided to do a little summer reading wrap-up video. These are all of the books that I read this summer, and for the most part, I liked all of them. So let's get started. The first book that I read this summer was Calamity by Sanderson. This is the final book in the Reckoners series. The first book is Steelheart, the second book is Firefight, and then this is Calamity. And it was awesome. I really enjoyed the series. I really enjoyed this book. It had a nice couple plot twists in it, and it was pretty easy to follow even though I hadn't read the previous 2 books in a while. So I really enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 stars. Another book that I read this summer was The Beginning of Everything by Robyn Schneider. I really liked it. It's kind of based on the main kid's personal philosophy that everybody gets one tragedy in life, and this is about his tragedy, how he breaks his leg right before going into senior year of high school, and he's not on the tennis team anymore, and so he's not really in his jock friendship groups anymore, and so that all changes, and he meets all these new people and tries all these new things, and I really liked it. I'll give it 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. The next book that I read this summer was Fans of the Impossible Life by Scelsa. What I really liked about it is that there were 3 different characters that you followed throughout the book, and there were different point of views for each of those characters. And normally I hate that, but what I really liked is that for one of the characters she did 3rd person, for one of the characters she did 1st person, and then for another character she did 2nd person, which I've never seen in a book. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. It didn't have a happy cookie cutter ending. It was very real and followed these kids at a like preparatory high school, and a lot of traumatic things happen with them, and I just really enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 stars. This next book that I read this summer, I actually started 2 years ago in 2014. This is Eleanor Park by Rowell. It was my first Rowell book, and I made it about, I don't know, 100 pages into it, and then I guess I just got busy with school, and I just never felt like picking it up again. But I decided this summer would be the summer that I finished it, and I did, and I really did enjoy it. I liked it a lot, but it wasn't, definitely not my favorite book. It might also just be because I waited 2 years to finish it, but I mean, I still liked it. 3.5 stars, 3.75, 4, between 3 and 4 stars. You may have noticed that those last 3 books I said weren't very cookie cutter. They didn't really have a good happy ending, and sometimes I like that in a book. But what I do not recommend is reading a bunch of those in a row, because then you just get really, really sad. So I decided I needed to counteract that with a much happier, lighthearted read, and that's why I read Since You've Been Gone by Matson. This has actually been on my TBR for a long time, mostly because when you get the hardback and you take the cover off, it has these cool pictures. I didn't get it in hardback because I have no money. I really enjoyed this too. It's about this girl whose best friend leaves her for the summer kind of mysteriously, and she just leaves this bucket list of all these things that she wants her to do that summer to kind of get out of her comfort zone and meet new people and do new things. I really liked it. It's a good, lighthearted read. It's also really fun. 4.5 out of 5 stars. After that, I decided to go back to the kind of depressing books. This is Highly Illogical Behavior by John Corey Whaley. I really enjoyed his other book. Oh god, what is it? Oh jeez. I really enjoyed his other book, Where Things Come Back. It's probably one of my favorite books now, and so I decided that I needed to pick this one up too. Plus, the cover is beautiful. Look at it. It's so beautiful. Look at it, all the colors. So this is about a boy who basically has a phobia of everything, and he hates being outside. He has massive anxiety about everything. One day at school he has this massive panic attack and then just decides, I'm not gonna go back to school ever, and he just kind of stays in his house. So this picks up a couple years later, and there's this girl, and she wants to write her essay for a college scholarship based on him. So she starts to try and become friends with him, and it helps him heal and push him out of his comfort zone and do all these other things, and he becomes friends with the girl's boyfriend, and they all just kind of have this cute little friend group. It's complicated by the fact that she only wanted to be friends with him to write a college scholarship essay. That's what I really liked, that one of the main characters is extremely flawed, and I really liked getting to follow her and listen to her thought process, because it jumps back and forth between the kid who lives inside and that girl. 5 out of 5? I'm gonna say 5 out of 5. So you've heard me say that I really enjoyed a lot of the books that I read this summer. This is one that I did not enjoy. This is Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. Okay, so here's my thing with this book. It has a really cool plot line and a really cool premise, and it has just a really good idea, but the characters ruined it for me. I really did not like the main character, Henrietta, and maybe it's because I'm 21 and I'm reading from the point of view of a 17-year-old. I just really didn't enjoy this a lot. It kind of dragged on in a couple parts. What I really hated is that there would be bits of dialogue, and in between each line of dialogue there would be like 3 paragraphs of explanation of what was happening in the character's mind or what was going on around them. It just really annoyed me because you don't stop in the middle of talking to somebody. Well, my battery died and I went and made a grilled cheese. You take the butter and you slab it, and then you do that a bunch until it's gone. You take the bread and you rub it in the butter because it's butter and it's delicious. So, if I have food in my teeth, that's why. But like I was saying about Passenger, I just wasn't a big fan of the characters, I wasn't a big fan of the writing style. It was a really cool idea with all of this time travel stuff and all these different families that control different parts of the time travel. I think this is a series. I figured that out when there were about 30 pages left and they were nowhere near getting to their goal, and I was like, oh dear God, is this a series? Because I will not be reading the other ones. 2.5 stars. Most people go on a summer vacation of some kind. I did too. I went to the beach. I hate the beach a lot. I hate the sand. I am so pale that I always get burned no matter how much sunscreen I put on. The salt water gets in your eyes and it's sticky. It's a whole ordeal. But I do enjoy reading on the beach. I love beach reading. It's awesome. The week we went was also the day that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child came out. Spoiler alert, look away if you don't want to hear any spoilers about Cursed Child. Look away now. I don't have it with me because my sister is borrowing it, but I loved it. I'm a massive Harry Potter fan. I made sure that I got a copy the first day, and I think I finished it the next day. I wasn't really knowing what I should expect from this book. I didn't know what it was going to be about. I didn't know what it was going to do, and I loved it so much. I think because I had such low expectations, expecting it to either be bad or just not knowing what it was going to be about, I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy it, but I did. It had plot twists, it had me gasping, it had me literally saying, I knew it, when I was reading it on the beach and the people next to me stared at me like I was crazy. I love that it kind of redeemed Slytherin House by having Albus be in Slytherin and having Scorpius be in Slytherin, and Scorpius is like the cutest little cinnamon roll that ever walked Hogwarts. The time travel stuff, I loved it. I loved it a lot. I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I mean, it still didn't have that massive page turner aspect that a lot of the Harry Potter books did have, but I think that's understandable considering that this was a stage play and not an actual book. Another book that I read when I was at the beach was Saint Anything by Sarah Dessen. I have been reading a lot of Sarah Dessen's books since I was in like 7th grade. They're not my favorite books in the world, but they do kind of tap into some kind of guilty pleasure thing where you don't have to worry about anyone dying. You're always going to get a happy ending, you're always going to get fun characters. It does get kind of annoying that she has this very formulaic plotline in all of her books where there's a white blonde girl and she has family issues of some kind, and then she meets some new friends and a new boy. She gets together with the boy and the friends make everything better. But I did like this book a lot. I like the characters. I like that her characters' problems are very real problems, that they're not just some stupid high school teenager drama. In this book, the main character's brother was involved in a drunk driving accident and he gets sent to prison, and so she is kind of dealing with all of that and having to deal with his reputation and her family dealing with that, and also how she's always in his shadow, and so she transfers to a new school to try and escape some of that, and she meets this new friend group. I also really like that if you've read a lot of her other books, there are all these little hidden jokes about some of the other books, and sometimes there are cameos of the other characters. Her books are really good beach reads. They always take place in the summer or early summer or right as the summer is ending. So I really enjoy it. 4 stars? Yeah, 4 stars. Now this is a book that I have started and I really love it so far. I'm about 200 pages in, but I still haven't finished it. But I do want to include it because I have started a good chunk of it while summer is still happening, and I might even finish it before school starts. This is Carry On by Rowell. I'm probably going to end up making a separate video just on this because I'm really enjoying it so far. Rowell has another book called Fangirl, and this is about a set of twins who go to college, and one of them is really introverted, and she writes fan fiction for this series called Simon Snow. And in this universe, it's kind of like the Harry Potter of their world. So she writes fan fiction about this, and this is that fan fiction. At least that's what I think. But I'm really liking this so far. I'm about 200 pages in. So it's about Simon Snow, and he's kind of the chosen one character, but he's really bad at being the chosen one. He's really bad at magic. He doesn't really know how to do it. I like how magic is dealt with in this, how it's being done in a way that I haven't seen before. There are also a lot of different magical creatures that you see in here, whereas in the Harry Potter books, for the most part, it's just about wizards, whereas these, there are vampires and there are pixies, there are goblins. I'm definitely looking forward to finishing this up. This book also has a map. I love when books have maps. They're so helpful. They're so helpful, and it just shows that the publishing company went the extra mile. Oh, where is this building in relation to this building? Oh, let me check out the map in the front. Oh, I see. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I just really like maps in books, okay? So those are the books that I have read this summer. I'm doing really good for my yearly goal of reading 15 books. I think I've read 8 so far. Once I finish Carry On, it'll probably be 9. So I'm really pleased with myself, and I can't wait to keep reading. Introverted, and she writes fan fiction. Introverted, and she writes fan fiction. Introverted, and she writes fan fiction. And she writes.
My name is Zach Bagans. I never believed in ghosts until I came face to face with one.